Hello there, this is Dave Allen for No Stylist, and what we're going to do today is have a look at this application iColorama, and we're going to create this image. And our starting point is going to be get an image from the library, and we'll go to all photos and scroll down to find the image I'm looking for. It's in there somewhere, that one there, look. Okay, so this is our starting point, and you might as well choose the highest resolution because that's the best way to go with your iPad Air 2. No problem at all. Okay, so here's our picture, and this is what we're going to work with, and let's do some stuff with it. I particularly like this style menu here. We've got some good stuff in there. Let's go for flat. So we're choosing flat, and that doesn't look very good at the moment. I mean, you can do things with the features on here, moving this around and getting it a little bit different, and maybe getting it to your liking, but I don't really like that too much. You can change the opacity in it as well. Okay, so let's use one of the presets, which is what we want here, and we'll go down to number 18. Here's number 18 in the presets, and doesn't that look terrible? Not what we want at all. So let's just use the opacity to bring that down. As you can see now, we're getting something that's a little bit more like it. We've got some nice pastel colours happening in there, and I quite like that as it is there. So put that there, the opacity, and that is now quite useful. So I'm going to click on apply. Wait just a couple of seconds and we're done. So the next thing we're going to do now is going to move on to flow, which is going to give it quite a nice little bit of a look there. So here's flow, and we can take the opacity down again on that a little bit there just to give it a bit more texture in there. Or we can take the opacity right down there and get even more texture in there. But I think around about there is going to be good. We can change the highlight on this here, so make it a little bit lighter. We can change the shadows in there as well, so have more shadow or less shadow. And we've also got bleach. Bleach brings in more white into the image, and I think we'll just leave that set. Not making a huge big difference, but still we'll leave it set about there. So that's looking quite good. Okay, so that's our flow done there, and we're going to click on apply. So we're going to beef it up a little bit. We've gone into edges, and we can see some nice little lines there that are going to be put into our image. We can change the size on it. So make it a little bit, make the lines a little bit thinner or make them a little bit fatter. We can change the opacity on that as well. So bring the opacity down, and that's not really what I want to do with any of those. What I like to do with this here is I like to put it on to multiply, and we've got our image that we did there with flat, and we've added some edges to it. So this is before and this is after. As you see, it gives it a bit more depth. It gives it a bit more sort of oomph, and I'm going to click on apply. What you can do with this, if you like, is that there's nothing wrong with going there twice. Let's get some edges in. You see it's looking a bit darker with the second time round. And we'll go to multiply again, and the whole image is looking a whole lot darker there. And maybe that's the sort of effect we're looking for. So let's click on apply again. So clicked on apply and wait in a second, and it's ready now. So then if you find that the image is too dark, what you can do then is you can go into something like the adjust menu, and we can change some of the details in there. So maybe they go into vibrance, and we can bring that up, or we can change the gamma on it. And it's all looking a bit too colourful there. Let's just bring that down a wee bit. Saturation. We can turn the saturation down, bring it more to black. There's a whole lots of different things you can do with this here just to get it looking the way you want it. So we can go with that there, or we can go for exposure. I haven't saved anything on this time. So we can exposure, we can go for brightness, bring the colours up a little bit there, make it a little bit brighter. We can use the exposure. So bring the exposure up. And again, you can adjust this a little bit more with the opacity if you want to. So leave the opacity at the top there, bring the brightness down a bit and the exposure up a bit. And now that's starting to look quite jazzy, isn't it? Well, I could go with that there. Don't forget that if you've decided that you don't really like the darkness that you've got in there, what you can do is you can go into your steps there. We've made some changes along the way, and we've done some saving of it. We could go back to that step there, and that is before we put any of the lines in there at all, which I think is actually looking quite nice in there. We can go to this one here, which is the first pass with the lines, which I think is probably the better one there. So let's say that's our finished image and we like it. So what we can do then is we can go into the save menu, and we can just save that off, and it's now going to be in our photo library. And we can do whatever we like with it there. We can send it off to various places there, no problem at all. But what we can also do with this here, we can do a share from here. We can share it to Instagram, or we can just share it to Pinterest, and you can put it into whichever place you like. So let's put it into Art I Like. It's saving into Pinterest now. When it's finished saving, I'll be able to do something else with it after that. So you can save it off into Instagram if you want to. You can save it off to Facebook, all sorts of different places, and you can have your image shared out. That's one I saved from previous. This is one I did there, and this is the last one I did. So you can get quite subtle effects with this. So this is Dave Allen having a look at iColorama, and I think it's a marvellous application. If you haven't got it, go and give it a try. Bye-bye now.